Fishing is not just catching fish, a pleasant pastime, or a way to make money. It is fishermen who most often become witnesses to the most incredible phenomena and encounter creatures whose existence is hard to believe. In this video, I present to you a selection of amazing stories in which the water slightly revealed its secrets to fishermen, although it would have been better if it had not. Enjoy watching. The Amazon is a true treasury of biodiversity, and its aquatic giants capture the imagination. For example, the Arapaima, which reaches 3 meters and weighs more than 200 kilograms, is considered the largest fish in the river, but fishermen's stories reveal other secrets. In 2023, a video appeared online and instantly went viral. In it, a man is trying alone to pull out a fish next to which he looks very small. The footage caused a storm of discussion and debate because the fish's size looked too unbelievable. However, a year later, footage of the giant appeared again on social media. A married couple who had gone to the Amazon captured a similar struggle with a river giant. So, what was it? A coincidence or editing? Let us be honest, the chance of a hoax is no greater than the chance that both videos are pure truth. So whether to believe them or not is up to everyone. A fisherman was already heading toward the shore when a dark figure rose from the depths beside the boat. At first, it only glided under the water, as if studying the vessel, and then it suddenly leapt out. The man managed to make out a terrifying creature with the head of a seal, the body of a human, and the tail of a fish. Such a hybrid made no sense to him, and he decided to capture it quickly on camera. The creature appeared again and again, and it was clearly pursuing the boat, so the fisherman reached the shore at full speed in his motorboat. After returning home, he watched the footage again and again, trying to understand whom he had met, a mermaid or an underwater monster. However, he never found an answer to that question. During a storm, the crew of a vessel noticed a dark shadow in the churning waters. When it soared above the waves, its resemblance to a whale seemed obvious. The manner of the jump and the massive silhouette suggested kinship with sea giants, and only one detail disproved this version. The point was that this mysterious creature had a huge dorsal fin that repeated the shape of its pectoral fins. Large whales do not have anything like that. Their anatomy does not include such an expressive body part. The creature flashed above the water several times, as if deliberately demonstrating its uniqueness to people, and then disappeared into the dark waters of the ocean. The author of this video noticed that a huge fish was splashing near the riverbank, but its movements were unnatural. It rose strangely and furiously tore at the net. When the man came closer, he froze in horror because he saw that instead of pectoral fins, the creature had human hands, and it used them skillfully. After publication, the video gained a huge number of views. Skeptics are sure that the author used video editing, but the man himself insists that it is true. Later, he left a comment under the video saying that he does not know how to prove something that seems impossible, but still hopes to find at least one witness who saw the same thing. An anonymous video from 2025 shows fishermen struggling to pull something incredibly heavy out of the water. When the catch appears above the ocean surface, it becomes clear that it is a shark whose size is significantly larger than even the largest modern predators. Some users who watched the video even suggested that it could be a descendant of Megalodon, which disappeared millions of years ago. This version is hard to believe, but it is still worth remembering that the ocean remains poorly studied. Its depths hide species that science still does not know about. Perhaps this shark is one of those unknown deep-sea inhabitants. A crowd of people gathered on the beach for a reason. They had all come to look at a mysterious creature resembling a human with a fishtail. The creature was dead, and its body had been washed onto the sand after a storm. Eyewitnesses filmed it with cameras, trying to capture every detail until specialists arrived at the scene and took the find away. Despite the large number of witnesses and numerous requests from local residents asking for an explanation, the authorities remained silent. People could only guess what kind of creature had been lying on the beach and why information about this incident was not being disclosed. An experienced fisherman shared an unusual story online. Together with his colleagues, he was pulling in a net with a very heavy catch. When they lifted the nets aboard with combined effort, inside they saw a giant octopus that looked like a real sea monster. The fishermen, of course, knew that such giants exist, but they had never seen one alive before. Giant octopuses, such as the giant Pacific octopus, can reach 5 meters in arm span. But the size of these octopuses is not their only advantage. These animals are among the smartest invertebrates on the planet. They can solve puzzles, open jars, remember people, and even use objects as tools. A man came to the beach early in the morning and noticed something no one was supposed to see. On the coastal rocks sat a creature with blue skin, humanoid features, and a fishtail. Coming closer, he turned on the camera and saw that there were 2 creatures. The man thought that in front of him were real mermaids and decided to continue watching them, but they probably noticed him after all. A couple of seconds later, the creatures clumsily climbed onto the rocks and disappeared from sight. A video of a mysterious creature caught by a fisherman from Coney Island in the United States spread rapidly across social media. In the footage, we see a truly very strange creature. It resembles either a mutated octopus or a ray with a huge head and 3 tentacles. The unusual appearance of the animal generated many theories until Joni Pinney Fitzsimmons, a candidate of biological sciences from the Macquarie University Fish Lab, brought clarity. According to her, the creature is definitely a ray from the stingray family, which explains its unusual appearance. A man named Desha was fishing in Krabi province in southern Thailand when, after pulling out a net, he noticed a strange tangle of branches among the fish. But as soon as he looked closer, the branches suddenly began to move. This frightened the fisherman greatly, and at first he even wanted to burn the terrifying creature, but then he still decided to record his catch on camera and release the creature back into its element. Later, he showed the footage to other fishermen, and they suggested that he had caught a black feather star. These creatures belong to the class of crinoids, ancient echinoderms that have existed on Earth for hundreds of millions of years. Feather stars do not crawl, but rather walk along the bottom on thin, flexible arms, and in moments of danger they can shed them in order to escape. Their arms are covered with small, feathery appendages, which makes them look like a tangle of branches in the water. In February 2026, a group of fishermen was finishing their work, lifting the last catch aboard. At that moment, something struck the side of the boat with deafening force, and then a frightening figure appeared from the water. It was a girl with light hair, completely black eyes, and a huge scaly tail. She looked exactly like a mermaid from Legends, and was clearly unhappy that the fishermen were in her domain. With a sharp movement, the mermaid snatched a fish straight from the nets and disappeared underwater. But a few seconds later, she appeared again, pausing for a moment near the surface to show the fishermen a terrifying grin. The men could not believe what they had seen, but they understood that in front of them was definitely not a human. Despite the fantastic nature of the situation, they decided not to tempt fate and stopped fishing. A fisherman stayed on the river until late. When he was already getting ready to go home, a huge silhouette rose from the water. The creature resembled a gigantic ancient fish with a wide mouth lined with rows of sharp teeth and a spiked fin along its back. Its eyes glowed like searchlights, and it was this glow that pointed to something unnatural, since riverfish do not have such a feature. The monster was aggressive. It furiously rushed toward the shore and cracked the boards of the pier as it broke them. Fortunately, the fisherman kept his distance, and the monster could not reach him. The eyewitness managed to capture several minutes of the nightmare, but even after publishing the video online, he still could not find out whom he had encountered that night. A diver was exploring the clear waters of the Atlantic near the Bahamas and recording his dive with an underwater camera. At one point, a creature appeared next to him whose appearance fully matched classic descriptions of mermaids. It had a female body and a shimmering tail. At first, he thought it was someone's joke and that in front of him was really a girl in a costume, but then he realized that this was not the case. The mermaid stayed about a meter away from the diver for almost a minute. All this time, she seemed to be studying him, and then she suddenly turned around and swam away. The diver surfaced in a state of shock. After returning home, he showed the recording to his acquaintances, but despite the video evidence, no one believed him. This video appeared online in 2023 and quickly went viral. According to the fisherman who posted the recording, he and his colleagues were working in the open sea as usual when the nets suddenly caught something heavy. At first, the crew was delighted by the rich catch, but after lifting the gear aboard, everyone was shocked by what they saw. In the nets was not a fish and not a mammal, but a strange creature. It looked like a girl with distorted facial features and a scaly tail instead of legs. At first, the unknown creature remained motionless, as if pretending to be dead, but then it began to hiss. It had probably encountered people for the first time and was frightened. According to the author of the video, he and his colleagues felt sorry for the creature. They quickly filmed it and carefully freed it, allowing it to jump back into the water from the vessel on its own. Fishermen went far beyond their usual route in the Indian Ocean. The day was calm until a dark silhouette appeared on the horizon. At first, they took it for a whale, but it moved as if it were a large ship gliding across the water. When they got closer, it became clear that it was not a whale and not even a vessel. It was something fantastic. The fishermen saw a gigantic creature with smooth, dark skin and no fins. It had a long, elongated body and a huge mouth. The eyewitnesses immediately realized that they had encountered a real monster, so they hurried to film it. One of the fishermen posted the video online, and many viewers compared the creature to Leviathan, the sea monster described in the Bible. A married couple came to the Albufera lagoon to relax, but instead they faced real horror. When the woman asked her husband to film her against the picturesque landscape, a terrifying creature with a long, twisting body emerged from the water. It lunged at the woman and almost grabbed her by the hand. Everything happened in a matter of seconds: the appearance, the attack, and the swift disappearance into the depths. The woman did not even immediately understand what had happened, and when they watched the footage, they decided to leave the place urgently. A team of Russian fishermen was working in cold northern waters. When something heavy got into the nets, the fishermen were not surprised, since they often caught large prey. But as soon as the nets were lifted aboard, the fishermen saw something different, something completely unlike a fish. This creature had a disproportionately large head with wide open eyes and a long, writhing body resembling a snake. The most frightening part of the story was that the creature made piercing sounds, like screams from the underworld. The fishermen did not know what to do. They were sure it was not an animal, but a real demon. For this reason, they decided to stop fighting the monster and threw the nets back into the sea together with it. Indonesian fishermen caught a shark, and when they began examining the catch, they froze in bewilderment. At first glance, it was an ordinary predator, but its snout frighteningly resembled a human face with expressive eyes, a curved mouth line, and barely noticeable outlines of a nose. All of this gave the fish an eerie appearance. Specialists who saw the footage explained the phenomenon as a mutation, a disruption of normal tissue development at the embryonic stage. Such anomalies are rare, but not unique. Due to disruptions in gene expression, animals can develop distorted proportions. And yet, despite the rational explanation, it is difficult to shake the feeling that this is not a monster, but a real fish. In October 2023, residents of a settlement in New Guinea discovered a frightening find on the coast, a shapeless, pale mass that barely resembled the remains of a sea animal. The head and most of the torso had already decomposed, and it was impossible to determine to whom the remains belonged. Scientists call such finds globsters. The term appeared in the middle of the 20th century and describes amorphous carcasses washed ashore. Most often they are the remains of whales, sharks, or large squids, but because of decomposition they lose their familiar outlines. Tissues and bones break down, while fat and connective fibers turn into a jelly-like mass. In addition, sea salt, the scorching sun, and scavengers complete the process, erasing any identifying features. That is why people often mistakenly identify globsters as the remains of sea monsters. In February 2024, a fisherman found himself in thick fog. Suddenly, something enormous began to approach him through the veil. At first, he thought it was an ordinary ship, but the closer the vessel came, the more its outlines blurred, losing clarity. They seemed not real, but as if woven from fog and shadows. The man immediately thought that in front of him was a ghost ship, one of those cursed vessels doomed to drift forever across the seas. He decided to capture what was happening on camera, and after returning home, he posted the video online. Users who watched the video agreed that there was nothing mystical about what happened. They believed the ship looked like a ghost only because of the weather conditions. In past centuries, sailors told stories about a terrifying monster they called the Kraken. Legends portrayed it as a colossal creature capable of wrapping its tentacles around an entire ship and dragging it into the abyss, raising waves that made even the strongest vessels tremble. In modern times, stories about the Kraken are considered fiction, but a video published in 2024 may change everything. Fishermen were in the open sea as usual when gigantic tentacles suddenly emerged from the depths, rising and crashing down onto the water, creating enormous waves. The fishermen shouted in unison, "Look, it is the Kraken!" Their fear was indescribable, but fortunately they managed to escape. Someone managed to film it, and now this footage makes one wonder, what if creatures that people consider only fiction still hide in the dark depths of the ocean? Brett Barley, a resident of North Carolina, went fishing in the open ocean as usual. At one point, the water beside the boat began to churn, and familiar, ominous fins appeared on the surface. Barley immediately understood. They were sharks. He had probably ended up near a large school of fish and involuntarily became part of the hunt. The ocean boiled with the movement of predators, and every second could have been fatal. With one hand, Brett continued filming what was happening, while with the other, he steered the boat with all his strength, trying to break out of the chaos and not capsize. Later, the man admitted that he barely managed to get out and was very lucky to stay alive. Two fisherman friends decided to test a drone and launched it from a boat in the open ocean. Suddenly, the camera captured the back of a giant creature with enormous spikes appearing from the water. The creature's shape was elongated and snake-like, but since its head remained underwater, it was not possible to see it fully. The next day, the fishermen passed the footage to specialists, but they still could not identify the creature, since no known animal had such anatomical features. Recently, a man shared footage of an unusual catch that amazed even experienced fishermen. In the Amazon, he managed to catch a strange fish that looked like a living fossil. Spines stretched along its body, forming a kind of armor, and the skin on its belly was so dense that it seemed almost impenetrable. The fisherman, who had been fishing for many years, admitted that he had never encountered anything like it before. This fish seemed to have come from the distant past, when the waters were inhabited by creatures that looked more like miniature dragons than familiar river dwellers. Even today, the Amazon remains one of the most mysterious places on the planet, hiding many more secrets in its depths. In 2024, a group of fishermen noticed a mysterious object in the water that from a distance resembled a large boulder. Swimming closer, they realized that they were going to become rich, because in front of them was ambergris. This wax-like substance forms in the digestive tract of sperm whales and has been considered one of the most valuable natural materials for centuries. Ambergris is mainly used in elite perfumery as a fragrance fixative. It gives perfumes longevity and depth, revealing scent notes in a new way. The value of ambergris can reach tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram. Specimens with a soft, sweet, spicy smell are especially prized. In recent years, reports have increasingly appeared about mysterious creatures spotted in oceans, seas, and even quiet rivers and lakes. For example, the author of this video was simply relaxing at a lake and witnessed the appearance of a creature with a long neck that outwardly resembled a plesiosaur. Such footage sparks debate. Some see it as a hoax, while others see it as evidence that the ancient secrets of the ocean have not yet been revealed. And the more such testimonies appear, the more troubling one and the same thought sounds. Could these phenomena be harbingers of the end of the world? 3 friends were walking along the beach early in the morning. Suddenly, their attention was drawn to a long fish lying on the sand. Coming closer, the girls immediately recognized it as an oarfish. Looking around, they noticed another fish of the same kind, about 50 meters ahead. The friends tried to help them. They pushed the fish toward the water, hoping to return them to their native element. But the fish seemed to resist, as if fate itself were holding them on the shore. This encounter seemed almost mystical, because oarfish live at great depths from 200 to 1,000 meters. However, sometimes they can still be found on the shore. Scientists explain such strandings by illness, disorientation, or changes in ocean currents. The author of this video was shocked when he saw specialists gathered near a busy Spanish port preparing to load a huge bloated carcass. The creature looked terrifying. It resembled a giant ball, and the man already thought he had witnessed the discovery of an unknown water monster. However, it soon turned out that this was the carcass of a blue whale. Such frightening shapes are the result of natural decomposition processes. After death, gases accumulate in a whale's body, causing it to swell greatly. Sometimes the pressure becomes so great that the carcass can even burst. In addition, saltwater and sea creatures speed up decomposition, changing the body's outlines beyond recognition. Residents of a coastal settlement in Madagascar gathered on the beach after one of them discovered a giant creature in the sand that resembled Cthulhu. Its size was astonishing, and the people standing nearby looked tiny. Later, it turned out that it was a giant squid. These creatures are among the most mysterious inhabitants of the ocean. The length of some individuals can exceed 13 meters, and their tentacles are covered with powerful suckers, with chitinous rings capable of leaving deep marks on the skin of sperm whales, their main enemies in the sea depths. It is hard to believe that squids can grow to such a scale. But in the dark depths of the ocean live real Leviathans, which humanity learns about only through rare strandings. Roman Fedortsov, a deep-sea fisherman and photographer from Russia, regularly amazes his followers with images of creatures that seem to have arrived from another planet. In February 2025, his post went viral. He captured a fish resembling the head of an alien. Its black coloration, smooth skin, and upward stretched shape, similar to a bizarre skull, made it especially sinister. Fedortsov himself suggested that it was some kind of deep-sea inhabitant accustomed to colossal pressure. And here lies an important nuance. Many deep-sea fish radically change shape once they end up on the surface. The sudden drop in pressure leads to tissue deformation, swelling of organs, and distorted proportions. Simply put, at depth, the fish has a perfectly ordinary body, but on land it turns into a frightening creature. 2 friends from British Columbia went fishing on Lake Okanagan, but they returned not with a catch, but with amazing footage. The men said that at one point, a dark figure with a long neck appeared from the water. This creature did not look like any known animal, so the friends decided they absolutely had to capture it on camera and then return to shore. At home, they posted the video online, hoping that experts would help solve the mystery. But the first to respond were not scientists, but local residents. They immediately remembered the legends of Ogopogo, a lake monster that the Salish people had considered the guardian spirit of the waters for centuries. According to legends, Ogopogo looks like a snake-like creature with a horse's head, and its appearance can be either a good sign or a warning. Fishermen love to boast about their catch. Some are proud of the size of their prey, while others are proud of its rarity. But this fisherman caught something that horrified everyone who saw it. The footage shows a strange pale creature in a bucket turned with its back to the camera. When the man carefully touched it, the creature suddenly turned around and opened its mouth, inside which were teeth surprisingly similar to human ones. Even stranger was the fact that instead of fins, the creature clearly had hands. It seemed like a terrifying hybrid of a fish, a reptile, and a tiny humanoid. Despite its modest size, it behaved extremely aggressively. The fisherman showed his catch to his neighbors. Seeing this monster, they declared that it was a water demon capable of bringing a curse upon the entire village. Then the man decided to release the unknown entity back into the sea so as not to bring misfortune upon himself. A tourist vacationing by the sea noticed a strange figure at the edge of a pier, warming itself in the rays of the warm sun. At first, he thought it was just a person, but something about the silhouette's outline looked unnatural. So he came closer, zoomed in with his camera, and began filming. It was then that he saw that on the pier there was a creature with long white hair, an elegant female figure, and a scaly tail instead of legs. It was a real mermaid from legends. The eyewitness dared to come even closer, but at that moment, the mermaid rushed to the edge of the pier and silently disappeared into the water. In the harbor of Arica, Chile, a true giant was pulled from the water, a fish with a flat, elongated body about 10 meters long. It resembled a long silver ribbon, and its head was decorated with a bright red crest that gave it an almost royal appearance. Local residents were not happy about such a find because they immediately recognized it as an oarfish, a fish popularly called the harbinger of Judgment Day. According to beliefs, the appearance of an oarfish near the shore foretells natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, and destructive storms. It is no wonder people became alarmed, because this fish is extremely rarely seen near land. Usually it lives at depths from 200 to 1,000 meters, preferring dark, cold waters. Scientists, however, explain such strandings by illness or disorientation in the fish, but the superstitious fear of the messenger of disaster still remains. A resident of Scotland shared footage on social media of a huge prehistoric shark. Many immediately doubted the authenticity of the video because it looked too unnatural. Yes, large predators really can be found off the coast of Scotland. For example, a blue shark was seen there recently, and from time to time other impressive species appear. But this shark behaved strangely, especially for a marine animal washed ashore. Its movements seemed slowed down, and breathing without water was something fantastic. Despite the wave of skepticism, the author of the video still insists that his footage was not edited and that he encountered a real prehistoric predator. A man was resting on a yacht in the open ocean and decided to launch a drone to admire the endless expanses and take several impressive shots. But instead of picturesque views, he captured something fantastic. On the screen, he saw a pale figure gliding just beneath the surface of the water. It did not move like fish. Its movements were smooth, almost human. The man directed the drone closer and saw that the creature resembled a mermaid. He was both terrified and delighted that he had managed to record a mythical creature whose reality no one believes in. A resident of a village in Bangladesh went to the river to fish. Suddenly, in the shallow water, he noticed something resembling a child. Without hesitation, he hurried to help. Entering the water, he was very surprised because in front of him was not a human child. The creature was roughly the size of a newborn, but it swam skillfully and consciously, avoiding contact with all its strength. When the man tried to approach carefully, the baby desperately resisted, deftly slipping away from his grasp, and then disappeared into the depths. The man suggested that it could have been a baby mermaid. The strangest thing was that the creature had legs similar to human ones, not the familiar fishtail. Of course, no one knows what young mermaids look like. Perhaps their appearance changes with age. Tourists decided to relax on a remote wild beach. On one of the coastal rocks, they noticed a large figure and at first took it for an unusual bird. But after zooming in with the camera, they realized that it was not a bird at all. The creature resembled a human, but with a long, scaly tail, and its body bent at unnatural angles, as if it did not have a normal skeleton. When the tourists came closer, the creature noticed them, leapt from the rock at lightning speed, and disappeared into the water. Who it was remains a mystery. In 2025, an amateur fisherman from Turkey set up camp by a river and installed a camera to capture the best moments. At first, complete silence reigned over the water, but then there was a loud splash, as if something massive had fallen into the water. The man thought it was a large fish and was already pleased in advance about a successful catch. He approached the water's edge, and at that very moment, a terrifying dark creature emerged from the darkness. It grabbed the fisherman by the legs and dragged him into the river. By some miracle, the man managed to break free and jump onto the shore. Fortunately, the creature did not pursue him and slipped back into the water. After that night, the man never went night fishing again. During fishing in Brunei, a man encountered a true mystery of nature. The head of an unknown creature suddenly appeared from the river surface. Seeing it, the fisherman took out his phone and began filming. The footage truly shows something incredible, a hybrid of a crocodile and a fish. But the most striking detail turned out to be the strange structure at the tip of its snout, symmetrically branching appendages resembling miniature tentacles. Apparently, they served the creature for touch or for attracting prey. Local residents, who know every corner of these waters, had never encountered anything like it. Whether it was an unknown creature or a river monster remains anyone's guess. Several fishermen returned to land at night and noticed a girl lying on the sand. She seemed almost lifeless, and the men hurried to help. One of them carefully touched her, and at that very moment she seemed to awaken. Her eyes opened, but instead of gratitude, she hissed at the rescuers, exposing small, sharp teeth. Only then did the fishermen make out that in front of them was not an ordinary girl. Instead of legs, she had a fishtail, and gills were visible on her neck. Although the creature clearly was not human, the men did not abandon it. They noticed that ropes were wrapped around the creature's body, so they carefully cut them and allowed the stranger to return to the water. Before that, one of the fishermen filmed a short video, which he later posted online. But despite the video evidence of this story, many viewers considered the recording staged. That is all from me. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to rate it, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell. For me, your activity is the best reward. Thank you for your attention. See you soon. Bye.